everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. Well, this week we're going to take a look at a Wilson Pickett style lesson. Kind of an interesting choice. This was a suggestion from one of the site members. Somebody requested that recently, and I thought that was a good suggestion just because it's kind of out of the norm. I'm not sure if Wilson Pickett was a guitar player himself. He may have been, but he played with a lot of great session players. So Steve Cropper played with him during the Stax recording stuff, and also he played with Duane Allman at one point. So there's a recording that he did of Hey Jude with Duane Allman, and if you haven't heard that, you're going to definitely want to check that out. Just go to YouTube and look it up. It's just incredible guitar work from Duane. But anyway, I listened to songs like Midnight Hour and Mustang Sally and some of his better known recordings, and pulled out some of my favorite licks and put those together into this composition, what I played in the intro here. So I'm going to show you how to play all of that note for note. We'll break it down over 2 videos. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the first half. If you want to watch the second half, you're going to want to go to ActiveMelody.com and look for EP077. And you'll also be able to download the tablature and the jam track so that you can practice along with it. And it'll be everything minus the guitar part, so you can fill that in. So let's go ahead and take a look at part 1. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me talk through tone real quick. I like a simple tone usually. I don't like to get to overwhelm people with effects because I know where that goes. But I'm using a Boss BD2 pedal. It's a Blues Driver 2. I use that for most of these lessons. And I have the overdrive set at about 10%. It's just enough to give you a little bit of boost. And like I said, I pretty much always use that pedal, so it's a great one. I'm also using a phaser pedal, which I don't normally use, but it gives you the sound. Hear how the tone kind of wavers a little bit. I just thought that kind of had a vintage feel to it as I'm trying to kind of recreate some of these old Wilson Pickett recordings. I've also got the amp reverb set up at about 40%, 50%. So if you've got an amp with like a spring reverb, that's got that real nice kind of vintage feel. So that's really the setup. You don't have to have the BD2 pedal. You don't have to have the phaser pedal. You could just literally plug straight into an amp and play clean channel, and it'll sound good. The reverb is pretty necessary, though, I think, to kind of get the feel. But anyway, that's the tone. So we are playing in the key of G, and the format for this is I've referred to this in previous lessons as call and response. And I love this style of playing because it allows you to be a rhythm player and a lead player kind of at the same time. So you can cover 2 parts. You can also improvise, and here's what I mean by that. So when I say call and response, the call is the chord. So think of that's kind of set in stone. You're gonna determine the chord there, and then there's this little lead part that goes. So I think of that as a lead. I know it's not maybe a traditional lead the way you're thinking of it, but for our purposes, it is a lead. And what that allows you to do is go back and forth between a chord or a rhythm and a lead. So you can improvise on the lead part. So you could keep the chord the same every time, but then your lead could go. You could do whatever you wanted there for those little lead parts. And that's why it's important to know your pentatonic scales, your minor pentatonic and your major pentatonic scale. Those 2 scales are critical for really any type of playing, because at some point you're going to dabble a little bit, and that's where you're going to be dabbling, is in those scales for the most part. So so let's learn this little this rhythm part. So we start with a G chord, and the way that I'm making a G chord, it's really just a G bar chord, by the way. I don't make a full bar chord, and I'll explain why. I make it like this. It's easier to grab the chord this way. So here's how I'm making the chord real quick. I'm just barring the first 2 strings, though, on the 3rd fret with my pointer finger. And then I'm on the 4th fret 3rd string with my middle finger. Then I'm on the 5th fret 4th string with my pinky. And I'm on the 5th fret 5th string with my ring finger. That's how I'm making the chord. Now some people that can do this, it depends on the length of your fingers, literally, but you can grab, I've seen people come up here and grab this string with their thumb, so they can actually theoretically you're completing the chord. Now the reason you'd want to make a chord this way as opposed to this way, and again this is personal preference, it depends on the mechanics of your own fingers and hands and all that, but for me it's easier to grab the chord if you're playing, especially when you're standing up and playing with a band, so you got a strap on, it's easier to jump back and forth when your hand is like this, or it is for me. It's easier than it is if it's like this. It's just more awkward to kind of have to reach down like this and grab the entire chord. Oh hey, my cat Alfie just showed up. Alfie he's my sidekick. He's in he's usually down here just kind of hanging out. Can you say hi, Alfie? Hi. Anyway, I wanted to show him off. If you see the tripod of the camera move, it's because Alfie's doing his little thing. Hey, no, stay away from the pedals. Alfie, no. Oh, there he goes. See, he's rubbing. Okay, all right, Alfie, stop. He likes to hang out with me down here, and then he starts rubbing on the tripod. All right, hang on. All right, so back to business. Sorry about that. Okay, so the chord then, we do 2 downstrokes. We go down, down, and then actually to finish that off, I go up, down. So we go like this. Hear that little up, down? When I do the little up, down part, I'm just grabbing really the first 3 strings, and then just a quick little pop. So. So that's kind of the rhythm part. Then I come up here and I go into the lead part. One other thing to point out is I'm playing almost all of these lead parts in the major pentatonic scale, so it has a little bit of a happier feel. At one point when we switch to the D chord, I do play a minor pentatonic scale, but for the rest of this whole thing, it's all in the major pentatonic scale. So here's what I do. I come up here and I start on the 5th fret, 5th string with my ring finger, and I slide up to the 7th fret, 5th string. Then I take my pointer finger and I bar the first 4 strings on the 5th fret, but I'm only going to play strings 4 and 3. So, now that's all downstrokes with the right hand, by the way. Then I'm going to come to the 7th fret, 5th string. That's an upstroke with the right hand. And now I'm going to come back and play strings 4 and 3 again, but this time I'm going to do a hammer on to the 7th fret, 4th string, like that. And then, to close out this little lick, I'm going to play another downstroke with the playing strings 4 and 3 on the 5th fret. And then to get back to the chord, I'm going to do an upstroke, and I'm going to play just the open D string like this. So, they're right back in position. You can see how it starts to groove there. And so set a metronome or do whatever you have to do. Now this song, I think it's at 150 beats per minute. So you're definitely going to want to download the jam track and practice as long. It's so much fun to play with when you have a band, you have the organ and all the parts. But if you don't have the jam track, if you're not a premium member, you definitely want to try and set a metronome or something in the beginning. Just to start to get that fluid, so that it doesn't. You're not stopping at any point. You just want it to be in sync. And do it slow in the beginning. Don't try and do it up to speed. Try and get it accurate first, and then speed will come later. All right, now the second time through, so then after that I go back to the chord, and the second time through I went. And for that, what I'm doing is I'm sliding from the 5th fret to the 7th fret, and then I'm doing a downstroke. So we've already done that. Doing a downstroke, playing strings 4 and 3 again on the 5th fret. We're back to the 7th fret, 4th string. Now when I play that 7th fret, 4th string, I keep that bar in place. So so that I can really play 2 strings, so I can continue to play this string 4 and 3. That's getting back to that kind of that Hendrix thing. He does a lot of that. You know, I think "Wind Cries Mary." That's kind of what's going on. So anyway, second time through. Now this time I did a little bend. It's a bend and release, in fact. And for the bend, I'm bending on the 7th fret 4th string. It's a bend and release. Back to the 5th fret 4th string. 7th fret 5th string. 5th fret 5th string. So we have. So really, a lot of what we're doing is in this little box area here. And let's understand why this box and why does this work. Well, if you look at the chord structure of this, what's happening is the band is playing G, then they're going to a C chord. So they're going back and forth. It's really just an alternate between a G and a C. So you have, so instead of playing the C chord, what I'm doing is I'm coming up here and playing really a kind of a lead in the C major pentatonic scale, if you think of it. Now when you make a C chord like this, or make any chord like this, for example, this is the chord shape that we've covered in other lessons. I'm going to assume that you can look at this and understand this type of chord. When you're making this chord, you have this little box that you can slide to up here that allows you to do some improvisation. You can, in fact, you can carry it beyond just that box. You can carry it this way by going. So you can see that I'm using even other strings. But it's all around that C chord. So think about that in the future when you're playing a chord, when you're making this chord shape. That's a D, for example. You can slide up this little box and use some of these licks that you're learning in this lesson. It just gives you a kind of a way to go back and forth between kind of a rhythm and a lead part while staying rhythm. So you could be a rhythm guitar player and you could start introducing licks that way. So that's why this works. So even though we're playing in the key of G, when I go here, I'm switching to the C part without playing the C chord. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So let's back up and cover what we've done so far. So we have, I'll do it slowly. Alright, so one other thing I should point out. When I showed you how to play this, I showed you to come down and play 7th fret, 5th string, and 5th fret, 5th string. That's the right note, but the way that I played it, I'm sorry that I taught it this way, but the way that I played it was I played the open D string. It's the same note, but what that allows you to do by taking advantage of that open D string is to more easily get back into position here to play the G part. So you would be correct if you played it just like that, the way that I showed you, but it just makes it a little harder to get back in position to play the G chord. So if you want, at that point you can switch and play the open D chord. I'm sorry, the open D note, or the 4th string, open 4th string. You can see it happens quickly, so it allows you to real quickly jump back in position. Alright, so let me go ahead, let me back up and play through both of those little parts that you have. I'll do it slowly, so here we go. And then that just repeats. Then I come to the C part of the song, and I'm going to switch. So if you think of the chords now, we're going to go from a C to to the F. So remember in this one, in the first part we had a G to a C. This time we're going to go from a C to an F. And I'm going to show you how to play this a little differently. So as I mentioned just a minute ago, this is one way to play the C chord, or a lot of you know it down in first position like this, but you kind of have two, I think of kind of like two bar chord shapes. You have this shape, and then you have this shape. And hopefully you know what that is. I've got all that covered on the website under the resources section of chords. But anyway, so instead of making the chord like this, what I've done is I've taken just this part of it where my pinky is, and I'm just barring that. So we're going to bar the first 4 strings on the 5th fret, and we're only going to play strings 4, 3, and 2. And that's a C chord. That's another way to do it. It's a very easy way to do it because you're not having to, you're using one finger, so it's nice. So if you ever wanted to real quickly grab a chord, that's one way to think about doing it. And you can do the math and figure out, how if you wanted to do a D chord or an E chord, it's the same thing. But we'll do our C chord, and then we're going to play an F chord. Now see, what's cool about this, I always think of this as kind of the Keith Richards chord, because he uses he uses this shape a lot. I know his guitar is tuned differently, but this is how he does it. Bar the first 4 strings of the 5th fret, and then I take my middle finger and so keep that bar down. Now we're going to make the F chord here. So keep that bar down. Middle finger goes down on the 6th fret 2nd string, and then ring finger goes down on the 7th fret 4th string, with the bar still in place. And what happens if you play those same 3 strings, 4, 3, and 2? You now have an F chord. So you have a C, and then you have an F. See? It's just a different way to make an F. And what that allows you to do is to be able to hammer on a chord like this. So just think about how you might use that technique if you ever wanted to back into a chord. You can do it by doing a pull off or hammer in onto a chord. It sounds more like you're playing an organ, really. Just a cool way to kind of get to chords. So, all right. So let's get into this. So what I did was I played the same kind of played that twice, that C chord, and then I played the F chord the way that I just showed you, like that. And so that happens. I don't think I hammered on that. I think I just played it like that. Now here's what I do to play a little lead part. I go. So let's learn these notes, and then I'll explain why they work. So we're going to play the 5th fret 2nd string, 7th fret 3rd string, 5th fret 3rd string, 7th fret 4th string, 5th fret 4th string. So you can see what is happening. We're still playing in that little box area. This time the box is extended a little bit, but it's what we're doing is we're playing in the C major pentatonic scale. So one other thing, let's talk through the picking with the right hand. So I start that with an upstroke on that 5th fret 2nd string. Up, down, up, down, up. So it's alternate picking for the rest of it. Up, down, up, down, up. Now, why do those notes work? Well, let's think about where we're at. So we're playing over the C part, right? So now what I've done is I've switched to the C major pentatonic scale. And so if you think about the C bar chord, this is your root fret here on the 8th fret. And so that means the minor pentatonic scale, the blues scale, would be here, right? The major pentatonic scale is that same scale, but you slide everything down 1, 2, 3 frets. And that's where we're at. If you think, those notes I just showed you, we're playing those right out of the major pentatonic scale for the key of C. So we switch scales, which is not something I typically do. Normally, if you're playing the key of G, I would just stay in the G, either in the major or minor pentatonic scale. But you don't have to do it that way. And sometimes it's fun when you're switching chords in a song to go ahead and switch scales as well. So this is a case where, and I don't typically do this, but if you're wanting to, to kind of go back and forth with this call and response thing with a rhythm, sometimes it makes a lot of sense to do it that way, and it also keeps a new set of notes for the listener's ear. So that's what we're doing, and just keep it in timing. So let's just let me try that again. Put you right back into position to play that C chord again. Now the second time through, instead of playing the F chord twice, I just play it once with one downstroke, and then I followed up with, and see again where we're at. Now you at least will know why these notes are working. So, and then you can introduce your own notes if you want, now that you know which scale we're in and what the boundaries are. So for this, after the F chord, I came up here I kept my ring finger down actually on the 7th fret 4th string, played 7th fret 4th string, 5th fret 3rd string, 7th fret 3rd string, 5th fret 3rd string, 7th fret 4th string, 5th fret 4th string. So we have, and it's just alternate picking with the right hand. So the timing of that it's different. So the first time through, we played the F chord twice. Watch this. Hear it? Down, up, which allowed us to go. Now the second time through, we only play it once. So let me play through both of those chords. I'll just kind of go back and forth a few times just so you get the hang of it from a timing perspective. So now that you know the boundaries, just think about how you might introduce your own licks there. You know where the major pentatonic scale is. You could have a lot of fun just kind of, playing around and coming up with your own licks. I always like to try and make those licks work from a timing perspective, so I'll break them down a little bit. But do whatever you got to do. You don't have to do it that way. All right, so let's go ahead and play through both of those. I'll play through them once each. Then we go to the C. Back to the G. Now, this time, I come up here and play the D chord. Now, I'm playing it way up on the neck here. And I'm doing that same bar chord technique that I just showed you. So instead of playing the G like this, we play it like this. It's the same thing for the D, same shape, but we're doing it up here. So the difference is the pointer finger bars the first two strings up here on the 10th fret. And these two fingers, our pinky and our ring finger, are up here on the 12th fret. So that's how we're making that D chord. Now again, if it's easier for you to bar that, by all means do. But that's how I'm doing it. So when we come to the D, I play. This is really the only point in this whole solo where I go to the minor pentatonic scale. Everything else is all major. So let's learn that lick. That's a cool one. Again, so you think about, we were playing in the key of D. your root fret, and all of this is covered on the blues lead course at ActiveMelody.com. So if you're not sure what a root fret is, but your root fret in the key of D is here on the 10th fret. So the D minor pentatonic scale is played up here. And so what I'm doing, I'm just pulling these licks right out of that D minor pentatonic scale. Now again, this is not the norm to switch scales just because we're switching chords, but you can do that. That confuses a lot of people. I know that I get a lot of emails on that. So anyway, you could play in just the G minor pentatonic scale here and it would work too. I know that kind of blows your mind a little bit. You could play the D. Alright, so we play the D chord twice. By the way, I'm not using my pinky. I just realized that. When I played it, I didn't come up. I don't know that I grabbed all of them in the intro. So you can skip your pinky and just play the first 4 strings of that. Whatever's easiest for you. So here's how I'm playing the lead part. I'm keeping that bar. So I've already got this bar in place from the chord, right? On the 10th fret, first 2 strings. Keep that in place, and then I come up here to the 12th fret, 3rd string with my ring finger, and I do a full bend. And then I play string 2 and string 1. So that's kind of the Chuck Berry. But anyway, that's how I'm starting that. Now I come back to the 12th fret, 3rd string, and go. So I do a bend and release. It's a full bend. That's what you're trying to do. And then I come back to the 12th fret, but this time I'm on the 4th string. And that's how you play that lick. Let me do it slowly. Oh, here's another thing. When I play the 10th fret 3rd string, I push that slightly sharp like this. You can hear it. It's those little subtle things that really make your playing stand out. So that's what I played for the D part. And the timing of that goes. Then I slid that same chord down 2 frets and played that, which is the C chord. So instead of playing it down here, we're playing it up here. Just played it twice again. And I do this little Steve Cropper run that goes. So for that run, I'm going to take my ring finger and put it on the 1st string. My middle finger goes on the 3rd string. And we're starting up here on the 10th fret, and we're going to slide up to the 12th fret. And so I just think of this little shape here. These 2 strings are, they're on the same fret. They're skipping a string. That's how I like to visualize this. So we start by picking the 3rd string, and as soon as I pick it, I slide it up to the 12th fret. And then I use my ring finger for this with my right hand. I go ahead and pluck the 1st string. So I'm using my pick on the 3rd string. And then I use my ring finger to pluck that 1st string. So it looks like that. Now some people like to use their pick when they do that. You can do that too. The advantage of learning to play with a pick and a finger, it's called hybrid picking, is it allows you to play 2 notes at once, like this. And at some point, you'll end up needing to do that. You can do things like that. But anyway, that's how. So we have that note. Now we're going to take that same shape and slide it down 2 frets to the 10th fret. And again, it's just 3 and 1. Those are the string numbers. 3, 1. Now we're going to change the shape. I'm going to take my middle finger and slide it down 1 fret so that it's on the 9th fret 3rd string. My ring finger comes off the fretboard, but my pointer finger goes down on the 8th fret 1st string. And And just think about where you are. It's the C chord, right? It's just those first two notes of that. It's not the first two, it's strings 1 and 3, but so you have that shape. Now you take that shape and slide that shape down 2 frets to here. So all together, it's just a really fun little run. Steve Cropper is just a master at doing those little double stop runs like that. All right, so let's back up and play. There's the D chord. There's the C chord with a little fill, and then we're back. And that's all we have in this first part. Now, if you're a premium member, you can move on and learn the second part where we go learn all these little runs and kind of why they work. But we'll see in the second part.